Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com as well as the YouTube channel and NoDQ&A videos affiliate ringsidenews.com. NoDQ.com and NoDQ&A video t-shirts are available at ProWrestlingTees.com. Search for NoDQ or check out the link in the description box. Got your questions here from spring.me/Aaron Rift. Let's get started with the first one today from Chris Mace 39628. Do you think WWE has used Sting properly since his debut at Survivor Series? I would have to say so. Even though Sting has not made that many appearances, every time he has shown up, he has made an impact, and that's what's important. He made his debut at Survivor Series, one of the big shows of the year. He interfered in a match that had huge stipulations, although the Authority ended up coming back a month later. But Sting was also instrumental in Ryback, Dolph Ziggler, and Rowan getting their jobs back. Sting came out on Raw, and that helped continue to build the Sting-Triple H feud. And WWE has dragged it out a bit. I figured Sting would have appeared on Raw and actually spoken by now, but WWE is trying to draw with that. They're going to have Sting confront Triple H at Fastlane. To me, that's fine. You know, you want to make the pay-per-view events important, even though it's a free month. They still want to establish the fact that the pay-per-views are special and it's something extra, more than what you would expect to get on Raw or SmackDown. I'm cool with that. I did feel the segment on Raw with the fake Stings and the message on the Titantron with Sting saying, "I accept." I thought it was a little bit goofy. To me, it was just a little bit too overproduced and kind of ridiculous, but a lot of people liked it, and you didn't want to have Sting actually appear on the show. You want to save him for Fastlane, so they had to come up with something. I just feel maybe they could have done it a little bit differently. But overall, I would say WWE's done a very good job with Sting, and you know, you want to make his appearances special. He's only going to appear every once in a while. He's a special attraction. So when he does appear, it needs to be a big deal. All right, this one comes from iTimebomb182. With all the talk of Roman Reigns not being ready for the top spot, who, besides Daniel Bryan, do you think is ready and would sit well with the fans? Greetings from Newfoundland, Canada. Well, when you look at the WWE roster, the problem is that WWE has so little confidence in most of the roster. A lot of people would argue that Dolph Ziggler could be the top star. If WWE got behind him and the marketing machine was behind him, Dolph Ziggler could be a top guy. Same thing with Dean Ambrose. And some people would also say that Seth Rollins could be the top guy as well. There are guys that certainly have the athletic abilities to get it done. But the problem with a lot of these guys is that they don't fit that mold of the top star, what WWE thinks as a top star. Roman Reigns fits that mold. And if we're just going by that, if we're going by WWE's vision of a top star, there's not really anybody. And especially Daniel Bryan. He definitely doesn't fit the mold. There's not that many guys on the roster that are ready for that top spot that fit the mold of what WWE wants. Roman Reigns is really the closest thing that they have. This one comes from Being Me 99. Hey Aaron, what do you see happening with guys like Ryback and Ambrose at WrestleMania? Ryback seemed to be feuding with Rusev at one point, and Ambrose seems to have no storyline heading to WrestleMania. Well, I expect those guys to be involved with WrestleMania in some fashion, but when you look at WrestleMania, it is the biggest show of the year. You want to have all the talent on the show, but at the same time, it's only a 4-hour show, or sometimes even a 5-hour show if you include all the pre-show shenanigans. But with WrestleMania, you know, you want to focus on giving each key match a good amount of time. You want to give it a good 20, 30 minutes. You don't want to rush the matches at WrestleMania. So when that happens, there's only so many spots. And what tends to happen is WWE puts all the guys into one match. They'll do something like a battle royal. In the past, they've done stuff like Money in the Bank where you have 8 people in one match, so that way you can get everybody on the show. When it comes down to people like Ryback and Rusev, Rusev will probably face John Cena in a rematch. Ryback, I could very well see him and Ambrose and Ziggler, all those guys being clumped together in some kind of multi-man match, whether it's a battle royal or 8-man tag, whatever. Probably something like that for those guys, but at least they're on the WrestleMania card. At least they have a match, so it is better than nothing. All right, this one comes from Iron Mike Sharp. If WWE wants to push Roman Reigns, why don't they give him a new look? He still has his Shield gear with same entrance through the crowd. Is WWE ever going to give him a new entrance and look? I think it's because WWE is just afraid to make any kind of significant change with him. The fact is, the Shield as a group was extremely successful, and their whole deal with the entrance and the look, that got over with the fans. So WWE's attitude is, let's just take that and give it to Roman Reigns to ensure that he gets a good reaction from the crowd, because if they try to change it up too much, it's taking too much of a risk that people might not get into the character as much. The fact that he's got all the stuff associated with a successful act in the company, that helps him, get the instant cheers from the fans because they recognize the music as the Shield music, they recognize the gear and the entrance and all that stuff. So I think that's why WWE does it, the fact that they just don't want to take too many chances with the guy. All right, this one comes from Noel804. Hey Aaron, do you think Roman Reigns would benefit his moveset by adding a submission finisher? Which one do you think would fit for him? To be honest, I don't really look at Roman Reigns and think of submission moves. Roman Reigns is a power wrestler. He's a guy that goes in there and does moves like the spear, and he throws people around, and he punches people with the Superman punch. He's not really a guy that does technical submission moves. That's not his style. John Cena does have the STFU. Maybe he could benefit from it, but every guy these days seems to have a submission move, and sometimes the guys that have submission moves, their character doesn't really fit as a guy who does submission moves. So to me, I don't think it's necessary. Goldberg, is a character that you could say is similar to Roman Reigns, and he did do submission moves from time to time. But for Roman Reigns, at least to me, it just doesn't feel like that fits his character. But I could certainly see WWE doing it at some point because, it would just be typical of the WWE main event scene for every guy to have a submission move. But I'd rather see some guys not have submission moves and change it up a little bit. All right, this one comes from Vincent Persisco. Hey, Aaron, what's up? How do you feel about Bray Wyatt versus The Undertaker? I personally like it. Just imagine the promos. Please answer in video. Well, I've talked about The Undertaker before in terms of him competing again. I don't think it should happen. I don't think Undertaker should be at WrestleMania in a match. I think he should be done now. The streak is over. Let it be. Leave the memories alone, as they would say. Undertaker and Bray Wyatt. If Undertaker's streak was still intact, absolutely, this would be a tremendous match. But now, I really don't feel it's necessary, and it just won't be the same. Undertaker coming out there with a blemish on his record. To me, it just wouldn't feel right, and I don't know how I would feel about this match taking place. Yeah, the promos would be cool. The angles they would do with the effects and the mind games. It would be very cool. But as far as the actual match goes, I don't know if I'll be able to get into it all that much. Perhaps I'll be wrong and the match would go over really well. But I have my serious doubts. I just don't know how I would feel about that match taking place and Undertaker wrestling again now that the streak is over. All right, last question here today from Young EZ. Hey Aaron, I was surprised that Brock Lesnar used an appearance on Raw this week, but just stood there while Heyman talked. Didn't brawl or anything for the rest of the night. Heyman has done promos alone before and been okay. Do you think that this was a waste? Yeah, I did. I was very surprised that Brock Lesnar showed up on Raw and really didn't do anything. He came out there with Heyman. Heyman did all the talking. Brock Lesnar stood there. It seemed to me like there was no point in him being there. They could have had a pre-taped promo with Brock Lesnar talking about Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan, or they could have had Heyman talk for him. They could have just had Heyman come out there by himself and talk about how Brock Lesnar feels about Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns. I definitely agree with you. I was very surprised that Lesnar didn't get physically involved in some kind of angle, so at least you're making more out of his appearance. Yeah, he was just out there basically just standing there with a title. Didn't really do anything else, and each appearance cost WWE a lot of money. I would have, if he was going to make a random appearance and just stand there, I would have rather have him show up back in November, so at least the champion was on Raw every once in a while without like a 3-month gap between shows. I think that would have been better than him just coming out when it wasn't really necessary at all. All right, that'll do it for this edition of No DQ&A video. Thanks as always for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, please share it with a friend on Facebook, Twitter, any social media site that you visit. Have them check out No DQ&A video, and I will see you guys next time for more.